What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Andrew Esquire, American attorney over here in Bangkok, Thailand. And of course, the legal mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. Today, we're getting into new document filings in the Klein case by the mods. We'll be going through that kind of leisurely today. And afterwards, we'll be doing an after show on Kick. The FF will be out a little bit later once it gets edited and everything else like that. So that'll probably drop in the evening Eastern time, my morning, right? And I'll take a little break tomorrow morning and relax. Sunday, time for relaxation, kind of the day off. So Sunday we'll probably take a little pause. You'll get the fast facts in my morning on Sunday, your evening on Saturday. And yeah, so we're gonna on Kick, we're gonna talk about the Jean Parmenov. There was kind of a ruling there, and we're also gonna talk about the island. And I thought about talking about that on YouTube, but to be honest, I don't feel like being demonetized, and we can kind of be a little bit uncapped on Kick. So that should be kind of fun because I can actually talk about some of that stuff without having to worry about the algorithm and everything else. I mean, it's already punished me bad enough with the notification issue, which appears to be site-wide. I talked about some other content creators. Apparently, there's an issue with notifications, so that's what's going on there. Actually, let me make sure I one place I forgot to put out my notifications here. I forgot to put it on my locals. Cannot forget the locals. Legalmindset.locals.com. But I am also doing I'm also doing the 4 a month, so 1 a week on locals. So if you guys haven't joined over there, make sure to go join. I'll be doing some good stuff over there as well. Ratcon Hazard, thank you for the 10 before the show, saying last call to get your snacks and drinks, Chad. Yeah, Chad, get those snacks. I just got water today, a little baby water, a little cute water. Also, I think we need a Moodang poll. I will be if we hit the goal, I'm going to go out tonight. So Bangkok has many they're hat aficionados in Bangkok. So I'm going to go find a good hat for Moodang, and maybe I'll post on my X. Maybe I'll post like a picture of the hat stand. So if you guys see any of the hats and you really like them, you can say, "Oh no, next time get that hat," because there's so many cool hats out there. There's a lot of hats. So I'm going to go get a hat tonight, but only if we hit the goal. Moodang gets a new hat. Otherwise, she's got to stay with her existing hats. She's got a lot of hats. Let's see. Let's start her off with the Thailand hat. There you go. See, nice Thailand hat. Hold on. She's got a nice Thailand hat on. Moodang's looking good today. All right. There we go. Okay. Moodang set up. All right. Unbound Valkyrie for 5 legal mindset memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. Yes. Yeah, Billy Oak said, yeah, like Kick the spicy stuff over there. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to use the platform for what it's good for, and what it's good for is being relatively uncensored. So, if they're not going to, that's one advantage of Kick, is they're not going to censor me for talking about stuff that really I shouldn't be censored for on YouTube. But YouTube is, a fickle mistress, and a lot of it is just laziness, right? It's allowing the algorithm or the AI or et cetera to flag certain things or ding certain things, which is very, very, very annoying because sometimes you just need a human involved to look at it and say, hey, what's going on? No more hats. She's a proper lady and deserves a tiara. Okay, we need to get Moodang a tiara. When I go find a party store and I can find a tiara, I will get one. Bridal veil when? She is too young to get married. I need to screen the suitor very well. Okay. Very, very, very well. Also, shout out to everybody. We're going to do multi-stream on Twitch and on YouTube because I think that'll handle for the lag. For the lag side, I think it can handle the two. I may have to mess with the bit rate and everything else. Thank you, CCPC Tech, for letting me know about how to handle that. I'm new to multi-streaming, but if it can handle 2 at a time, then I'll do Twitch and YouTube, and then Kick, I'll do like after shows or different sorts of content. Maybe I'll try to come up with some unique stuff that's unique to do on Kick. You're not edgy if you don't get banned at least once. I've never been banned. I've been like community guidelines once during COVID, and that was because I read the definition of vaccine. But that's pretty much it. I've been a good boy. Yes. Thank you, Hika, for the 10 Legal Mindset memberships. If you received a membership, please say thank you. We're a respectful chat, so make sure you're very respectful to everybody else in the chat. Very nice. It's very great. Yeah. I do know there's settings for people that can't unless they followed for a while. So that's what I'm saying. Go follow me now on Kick. I'll put up, let's put up the stream over there. It's kick.com/legal mindset. I'll put that in the chat right now. So if you go over there and it's in the chat on Twitch and on Kick, the Kick link is there. So if you guys want to just go ahead and go follow, then by the time this is over, you'll be able to chat, right? Which is good. Yes, I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/legal mindset. So Danielle's posting all those links in the chat, and I'll also make sure they're in the description as well. They're also on my X. So if you need to find the links, the easiest way is probably just to go over here to my page, go over right here, and click on these links. It's got all my main social medias. I had Instagram and TikTok there, but really those aren't the ones I'm focusing on. I want to focus more on kicking on Twitch because the monetization and also the format, right? Because I like the slower format. But good to see everybody over here. Shout out to everybody, no matter what platform you're on. It's lovely to have you here today. Also, I do want to give a little shout out here because my buddy Josh of Inaka Adventure just dropped what I think is one of his best videos ever. If you guys like Japan tent, go check out here. Inaka Adventure surviving Japan's greatest outdoor destination, the Michinoku Trail featuring Go North Japan. This is one of his best videos ever. Inaka Adventure and Go North Japan, they collaborated on this one. Really, really, really good video. Definitely check that out. I've been wanting to get over to Japan and I love hiking, so it kind of gave me some inspiration to do that. If you guys like that type of stuff as well, I think it might be for you as well. Let's see here. Trickster Rad says, hey, a little off topic. What's your opinion on the Judge Dugan thing? I don't know if you talked about it, joined the stream. I have not. And I need to do some research on that before I comment on it. I don't want to comment on something I don't have enough research on. So I think I vaguely heard about it, but let me look into that and get back to you. And if you got information, you can send it to me. You can email it to me or send it to me on X, and I'll take a look for sure. We've got a lot of different stuff to cover and a lot of different topics, right? Didn't Japan ask me to not to stream? Yes, they did. It was really weird. I think that was a time where they were just getting over the nuisance streamer kind of period. So I think they're very extra sensitive. But yeah, that was one time. But Josh lives there. He's got a visa. So, I mean, he's not a tourist. So he films a ton there, and it's the government encourages him to do it. They like him doing it because it promotes the country, right? And he's very positive about everything he does about Japan. All right, so let's get into this. I've got a PP now. We're going to go through the entire document today on the live. The fast facts will have the summary. So if you want that, you got that. So obviously, guys, you know that there's the ongoing case between Ethan Klein and the Hassan Orbiters, and the Reddit mods are a key part of this. They are very, very, very central to all of this that's going down. The background, obviously, you know, Casey Tron just recently settled with Ethan Klein, paying him all of her legal fund, giving a public apology, and agreeing to testify against Denham's, Frogan, and the Reddit mods. So the Reddit mods are now desperately trying to fight discovery and the revelation of their true identities. Now, Ethan Klein recently filed a response and provided additional evidence appearing to show what appears to be a just silver bullet in collusion. And once again, collusion is not necessary to a copyright claim, but it goes to showing how bad this case would be, and also goes to distinguishing this case. One of the misrepresentations that Denham's makes and the mods make is that copyright infringement requires some sort of collusive conspiracy. That's not really a thing. You don't need to have some sort of wide conspiracy in order to have copyright infringement. A single person can copyright infringe from another single person. A conspiracy would make it worse, but it's not a necessary element to prove copyright infringement. And the fact that I keep seeing this argument brought up again and again and again is really odd. And the fact that is the lawyers, and you'll see in the documents here today, they really hinge on that being the only thing. And that's not what it is. It's not how the law works, right? Copyright infringement is copyright infringement, regardless of how many people are involved in doing that infringement, right? And hey to everybody in the chat joining. I do see a lot of people saying hello, so thank you. Hello to everybody there. Hope you guys are doing well. There's no OnlyFans link, although I may be talking about the censorship of anime and manga. And one of the things that just is absolutely wild to me is that Visa and MasterCard will just bend over backwards for platforms like OnlyFans. But with anime and manga, God forbid that you have a female character wearing like the old like Amazon armor, with like the metal bra, like the heavy metal 2000, sort of look, right? With like the metal bra and the metal bottom, whatever, bikini bottom or whatever it is. They had to like censor that, add clothes, right? But OnlyFans is okay. Very, very odd. Maybe talking about in a future episode. It's just crazy. They're just crazy with censorship. But anyways, these are the two documents. So one is a joint declaration of the does, and the other one is the does response to TED Entertainment, which is Ethan Klein. So let's go ahead and let's actually read the documents. I did summarize them, and that will be included in like the fast facts version, but I want you guys to get the entire documents. Each is only about 7 pages, so it's not that long of a read. And I think it's important for you guys to go through the whole thing, because I want you to see the language and see how ridiculous their argument is, right? So let's go ahead and just pop this bad boy open. This is the first PDF, which is the joint declaration of the does. So this is, once again, here's the perspective. This is the lawyer for the Reddit mods. So we're speaking from the perspective of, when I'm reading this is the perspective of the mods against Ethan Klein. And I'm going to be very fair and tell you where they might have good points and not. They do make, and I'll be honest, they do make a couple good points, but they've got to prove those points with evidence and backup, etc. And also remember, we haven't gotten all the discovery yet, right? So we need to get more information to see what's going on. Also, no. No. Wait. Not fixing people in this chat. We're just looking at how it is, right? We're taking it how it is. All right. So here they go under penalty of perjury. They're making the argument plaintiff's improper filing in response to our administrative motion reveals a blatant sense of entitlement, both on the part of plaintiff and plaintiff's counsel, to dictate the terms of our defense of constitutionally protected speech as anonymous online critics. Okay, this is what I want you guys to really focus on. This right here. Okay. So first off, it's very arguable that Ethan Klein is entitled. In fact, let's go ahead and actually assume, let's just go ahead and admit that Ethan Klein is an entitled prick. Ethan Klein is a haughty hippopotamus, right? Haughtier than Mudang, right? Ethan Klein is super hot. He's super stuck up. He thinks he's God. He's so important, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Entitled people could file lawsuits too. It doesn't matter how entitled you are, how haughty you are. That doesn't change your legal basis. Whether you're humble or haughty, whether you are pious or demonic, right? You can file a lawsuit. It doesn't change anything about the law, whether or not you're quote unquote entitled, right? That sort of argument is a little bit of moral grandstanding, and perhaps they want to start that way to add a framing, but it just doesn't make sense. And then the second part, and Tankrat actually said this, is they're trying to say they have constitutionally protected speech. Yes, we do have free speech until, like he says on Twitch here, until it breaks the law, like committing copyright infringement, right? You have free speech until you break the law, right? Until you, let's say, defame somebody, right? You have free speech until you commit defamation. You have free speech until, for example, you incite violence, right? There are limits to free speech. It is not unlimited speech, right? That you can say whatever you want with no problem. No, free speech is free and protected with certain limitations. That's just the way it is, right? Yes, like Amber Turd. Alexis Artemis Green Howard says Glenn Mudang is back. Hi, Lincoln said, hey, how's it going? Yeah, Mudang is back. She's doing well. She's hanging out back here. Let's see the camera focus back here with me and Mudang. Okay, will it focus? Okay. Maybe it's a little bit out of focus right now because the microphone here. If I drop the microphone, will it focus on me and Mudang? There you go. Mudang's doing well. She's doing well. She's having a great time. Okay. Is the cover crooked? It is. It is. See, thank you all the Tylenol Americans in my chat who will correct it. By the way, I totally did not scuff the PowerPoint and the fast facts, and I totally did not correct it for the live. All right. So this filing reinforced our legit concern that the plaintiff intends to use their considerable resources to drag this case out, dox us, and launch additional baseless lawsuits designed to inflict further financial harm. So the funny thing here is the only people dragging it out are really them, because by fighting this evidence, by saying we want to stop this evidence from coming out, in my assessment, this evidence, these things are going to come out eventually. If they don't come out like now, it's going to come out later through depositions, through cross-examination or direct examination, etc. This evidence is going to come out. So why are you fighting so hard to keep this evidence from coming out? Just let it come out. I get it. And also, doxing in a lawsuit isn't a thing. That's just how lawsuits work, bro. Like in lawsuits, you have the names of the parties. It's not a standard for them to hide a name unless it's a minor, right? So if it's a minor, or let's say somebody who is sometimes like a judge or law enforcement, they might have to make that anonymous, right? But it's the exception, not the rule. And you're trying to say that just because people are online, they get to hide their identities in lawsuits? That's really a crazy precedent. It's not really doxing, right? So yeah, Danielle said in chat, you have to get permission for DOE status. It's not something you're just granted like standard, like everybody gets it. By the way, why are we always at 6.6? We're at 6.66 right now. So can we pump these numbers up a little bit? We're hanging out a little bit too much on the weird numbers. But good to see everybody here, though. I love everybody here, and thank you guys for all contributing. Make sure to smash the like button. It really helps out in the algorithm. All right, okay, we're at 679. I'm more calm now. Doe status is anonymous. So Jane or John Doe. You probably heard of that. Jane or John Doe. Okay. Plaintiff's disregard for procedural rules demonstrates a belief that those rules bind us, but not them. This selective approach to legal accountability reflects a broader pattern of Ethan Klein's malicious and abusive conduct towards us and his critic. Ooh, that's kind of like abusive is almost a little bit too far to say, but malicious, I mean, that's there from their perspective. This has been explicitly demonstrated by the fact that plaintiff and Ethan Klein's counsel have both previously disseminated critics' private and identifying information and pleadings related to our motion to quash. It's not, once again, this is just information that's going to come out. Your information is going to come out. Your, names, etc., are going to come out as part of the process. Like it's weird. Also, Gin Blaze for 100 Norwegian krona says, PSA for those of you suffering from muscle knots, sometimes I get those, soreness, or just eating too much this Christmas. May I recommend basic calisthenics or Tai Chi for 5-10 minutes a day to help with that? That's cool. Yeah, I saw an ad for like Tai Chi for 5 minutes a day, and you'll get a six-pack. I don't know about that, but they're like, Tai Chi is good for people over 50, which I do believe. That one I do believe, right? Low impact is good when you get a little older, right? Okay. Let's continue here. Moreover, The filings directly contradict the very premise on which our participation rests. Plaintiffs' counsel now insists that they never alleged any collaboration or conspiracy between us, Denims and Frogan and Casutron, yet earlier pleadings from the same counsel explicitly assert such connections. If, as they now claim, there was no alleged link between us and the creators accused of directly infringing TI's content, then there was no factual, theoretical, or logical foundation for any allegation of contributory copyright infringement against us. In short, Plaintiffs' counsel has demonstrated that our involvement in these lawsuits bears no relation to any alleged copyright violation, thereby undermining the entire basis of their claims against us. So what they're trying to say is, hey, look, if there's no conspiracy or collusion, then you don't have a claim against us. Now, you still would have a copyright claim. And it is true, if there is no proof that there was any sort of collusion or thought or plan, etc., even if it wasn't direct, if it was indirect, right? If there's really absolutely nothing, then yeah, the mods will be off the hook. But guess what you need for that? You need discovery, right? So you have to get that. Oh, did Aspen send you guys over here? Oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, guys, glad you're here. Welcome from Aspen, if you're coming over from there. I appreciate all y'all. So let's see here. So do they have a point there? Do they have a point? Yes. Ultimately, they may be found not liable, but here's the problem. They're fighting discovery. Discovery is the evidence coming out. You need to show all the evidence. You need to answer the subpoenas. So we need the subpoenas to see whether there is a link or not. So they're getting ahead of themselves. They may ultimately be proven innocent. That's true. Or there may ultimately show there's no link. Perhaps that's possible. But we need to get all the emails, messages, everything they have, Discord, etc., all of that stuff, right? Yeah. So yeah, welcome everybody. Johnny Matt, J9S says, is more of a Reddit post than a legal document. It's Redditors putting their Reddit rats into a legal document. Here you go. Despite unequivocal testimony that we are neither the moderators nor participants on r/leftovers H3, plaintiff Ethan Klein continues to conflate activity on that subreddit with the defunct r/H3 snark Reddit, a community that has been totally inactive since 2025. Well, that may be a important distinction, right? So obviously, if there's two different subreddits, then he does need to get everybody from both of those. If he's alleging that there's behavior in both of those, then just you're gonna need to add everybody, right? Everybody needs to be added. So they need more information, not less. So I don't think that gets everybody off the hook, although it might get certain people off the hook, right? Let's continue here. So on-air conversations on the H3 podcast confirm that Ethan and other TI employees are fully aware of their r/A3 snarks inactivity, yet Plain persists in misleading the court by merging the two subreddits. This deliberate misrepresentation appears intended either to create a pretext for future litigation or to silence an even broader body of critical speech aimed at TI. In all three complaints, plaintiff admits their initial plans to pursue legal action against us for harassment, in which we had no involvement, as we stated repeatedly, makes it impossible for us to trust that our private identifying information will be used exclusively for these filings. Well, sorry, it's got to come out, guys. It's got to come out. Okay, so here you go. Plaintiff's tactics amount to a financially abusive strategy to intimidate anonymous critics rather than a good faith effort to enforce copyright. Here's the bold part. Plaintiff offers no evidence linking any of the users identified in their exhibits to H3 snark moderators. They cannot provide evidence that Dartoise, sounds like Blastoise, like Dartoise, or any of the users identified in their new evidence are not, are not or were moderators of the H3 snark subreddit. It's been a long day, guys. Okay, welcome everybody. Susan, also welcome as a new member. Very, very big. Yes. Thank you for that. So this is a good one. So obviously, or Dartois, like D'Artagnan, Dartois. Okay, thank you. So we'll give it a little Dartois, right? It's chef's kiss. So this is a good argument on Reddit's behalf, but I come back to the fact that we need to see more evidence. We need to see more links. We need to get the files from Reddit. We need to see behind the scenes. We need to see if these people have different accounts on different places. So we need more evidence in order to see whether or not this is true. If this is true, then maybe they could potentially wiggle out of this, right? It's possible. But, we don't have that evidence yet, right? Plaintiff admits in their discovery that a single communication that Denims produced allegedly, but not actually related to the H3 snark moderator, is a communication. However, this person was never, or D'Artois, right, was never an H3 snark moderator. The only evidence produced in the Denims discovery consists of communications with a person who was never an R3 snark moderator and to whom Denims never even responded. Oh no! Oh no! Ghosted by dirty Denims. Are you telling me that Denims ghosted somebody? How dare she? How dare she? Right? I cannot believe that she would ghost somebody like that. By the way, shout out to everybody over there on Twitch. Lacey Marie, I see your first time, and Radcon has the Oracle guys, Dragon Regalia over there joining, Spider Bro, all those over there on Twitch. Appreciate you guys. Let's get monetized on a lot of platforms, because YouTube's being weird, right? Yes. So they're saying there's no connection there's no collusion that they're able to show between Denims and the mods. So they've just proven that in their word, they've proven that the contributory claims against us and have always been meritless. Well, that's not true. There could still be a claim there, even if there's no collusion. Because once again, even if there's no collusion, them unilaterally saying, don't go to Ethan, watch it somewhere else, and here's a list. Even if they weren't directed to do that, it's still possible a judge could look at that and say, no, and actually that's contributing towards this, right? So it is still possible. Still possible. Let's continue. We were never instructed, encouraged, or knew of any H3 snark users contacting Denims or any other creator regarding the works at issue or for any other reasons. We had no knowledge and cannot possibly have had knowledge of any R/A3 snark users privately communicating with Denims or another creator. Well, that's that part. Once again, I give them points where they have points. It is fair that they probably can't police everybody's messages. That's true. But they are responsible for what they post and what's publicly posted in the Reddit. So that's something. That's something. Kyle Lombard, welcome as a new member. Welcome to the most base crew out there on the internet. Okay. So Klein is also saying, apparently, according to them, without evidence, that we manipulated the exhibits to mislead the court. They're saying that they had selections that reflect a range of user commentary from various social media platforms, each decided with a hyperlink. So they're essentially saying that, hey, our evidence is good. Ethan's saying it's bad, so our evidence is legit. They're saying we never suggested the mod mail messages were received from r/A3H3 Productions users, but stated that the messages, posts, and comments reflect a range of user communications that are intended to intimidate, harass, or otherwise pressure with respect to lawsuits. Any purported issues with mod mail screenshots appear to stem from a formatting error that occurred when converting a Word document in which screenshots were copy-pasted to a PDF. I don't think that's your only problem. I don't think your only problem is that you were converting from a Word to a PDF. I think you got bigger problems than that. Let's continue. TI's baseless accusations about evidence manipulation are theatrical distractions intended to generate interest in the H3 podcast. Through this litigation, we have maintained that lawsuits are a desperate effort to revive a waning show and stage a PR campaign that gains the illusion of legitimacy by appearing in federal court. As private citizens, we've been thrust into an expensive, unjust, disturbingly hostile publicity war orchestrated by TI, disguised as 3 lawsuits. I just don't buy that Ethan Klein is doing this solely to pump his social media, solely to do that. Maybe it has that effect. Like, that's possible that it could have that effect. I'm not going to deny that, right? Obviously, when you have drama on your channel of any sort, even a lawsuit, that might pump your views. But this is a very expensive way to get those numbers up. Also, somebody said in the chat, why is he only suing women? Well, some of the mods, I believe, are men. So there are men in there, right? So I think that the point was that the ones that were sued made comments specifically, like very specifically, about diversion from his channel. And because they did that, that's why they're just prime candidates, because Frogan, Casey Tron, and Denham's all made those statements, which made it more of a clear-cut case, right? Okay. During the initial August 2025 meet and confer before we filed the instant motion to quash, plaintiff's counsel offered to our counsel assurances that the litigation would proceed civilly. That's okay. This is so misleading. You all agree, all the lawyers and judge, like, we're going to have a civil court case. We're going to play by the rules, guys. We're going to do things, this and that. It's like saying you're going to play fair before a baseball game or a football game or a soccer game. That doesn't mean you don't try hard to win, right? Just because you say, okay, we're going to be civil, it means you're not going to stab somebody in the bathroom, but you're going to fight, you're going to fight legally, and you're going to make strong arguments. And sometimes your arguments are going to overreach. That's true. And is it possible that Ethan's lawyers overreach on stuff? Yes. They're not perfect. And I'm never going to not call out the fact that Ethan's lawyers could go too far. They can make mistakes. They might even lose some of the motions, right? But their job is to advocate zealously for their client. And so their job, just like the mod's lawyer's job, is to make the most aggressive argument possible. So saying that you agreed to proceed civilly really doesn't work. But one thing here, this is really good. At the time of the meeting, Ethan was live on the H3 podcast, issuing threats to feast on the ashes of our ruined lives, gloating about the exorbitant costs of fighting these subpoenas and declaring that financially ruining us is his dream come true, and mocking us for retaining counsel. You're allowed to be evil. This is what people don't get. You're allowed to be evil. You are. It is not. Once again, let's let Shondo say it for us. Being evil in a lawsuit,
not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
You're allowed to be evil. It's okay. In fact, lawsuits are probably one of the places where you're allowed to be a tricky, crazy mofo, because within the bounds of the lawsuit. So you're allowed to be evil. It's lawful evil, right? Yes, we're in like D&D, alignment things here. It's lawful evil. You're allowed to do that, right? Okay. Let's go here. I like this one. The dissonance of formal assurances with the on-the-record threats undermines any credibility plaintiff might claim and reinforces the conclusion that litigation is being used as a tool of harassment rather than a genuine effort to resolve a legitimate copyright dispute. That just sounds like them complaining that he's a big meanie, which, once again, it's not a legal defense. Like, he's mean. No. Plaintiff's counsel has shown a disregard for protecting the private and identifying information of others through these pleadings. He erroneously attributed posts attacking him in his professional capacity to us and our H3 Snark, ignored our sworn declarations we have never posted on or moderated leftovers, and threatened a former r/A3 Snark user with litigation unless they surrendered every piece of information they possess. Well, that's his right. He's allowed to sue as many people as he wants and has money to sue. So he can sue people, right? And their information, once again, it should not be private in the first place. It should come out. Like, exactly. What do you expect? It's a battle. This is not, like hopscotch, right? Plaintiff's counsel acknowledges an enormous public interest instigated only by plaintiff for actions unrelated to copyright and in fact not done by us in exposing our identities. Dun, dun, dun. Validating our fears that unmasking. I feel like this is like luchadors, like about to be unmasked here. Unmasking would unleash an overwhelming wave of hostility onto us, our fans, our family, our colleagues, classmates, and broader social networks. That's called consequences. His interest in revealing who we are, coupled with the disregard for the safety, security, and privacy of private citizens, comes to us as an eagerness to help plaintiff mobilize an online mob against us, and we therefore ask the court to quash the subpoenas in full rather than rely on AEO protections. Plaintiff's assurances that they will tell their fan base not to harass or dox us are unconvincing and expose the willful blindness of TEI towards attacks carried out by their followers, supporters, and allies. So, well, I mean, this applies to both sides, though. See, they're trying to. This is why I don't like this argument. Reddit is trying to eat their cake and you know, what was it, have their cake and eat it too, or whatever. They're trying to say that. So, in this argument, Reddit is trying to say we are not responsible for what everybody who uses our Reddit board says or does, right? Their argument from Reddit is that this guy, D'Artois, they don't control his communication. They don't control what he does. And on the same hand, right? So they're saying that we're not responsible for D'Artois, but also we are afraid of random people on the internet that Ethan doesn't control. So you can't have it. I mean, I think the truth of the matter here is, yes, you cannot control your audience. I can't control everybody who watches my videos or comments on my videos or does that. People can be a legal mindset fan and do something crazy. I don't control them. Right now, maybe the audience reflects the streamer. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of a thing. And, you know, maybe you guys know about me and you know.
Look, here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
And you guys are too. So maybe you guys go out there and do some R slurs. In fact, you know what? We haven't forgot about the swear jar, guys. Put one in there for that one. Okay? We're not forgetting about that, okay? Not forgetting about that. We're getting kind of full here. Listen, some of you idiots are going to go out there and do some idiot stuff. And some idiots of Ethan Klein are going to do idiot stuff, and some idiots of the Snark thing, and some idiots who watch Hassan or Asmongold. There's everybody. There's a bunch of idiots out there. And there's a bunch of idiot fans. You're not liable for everything that somebody who watches you does. However, if you do something like incitement to violence, then yeah, you would be, right? Because you're saying, okay, go, okay, my audience, go out there and, burn the Smurf building at 2 p.m. on Friday, right? Whatever, right? Violence against Smurfs, right? Hate crime against Smurfs. If you were inciting violence, then yes. But if you're telling them, okay, here's the statement, don't dox, don't harass them, and somebody goes and does that, you really can't control that. And that's just the nature of the internet. Because that's the way the internet operates, right? So that's just how things happen. Yeah, I got to make a little text real quick. Someone's trying to call me. All right. So let's continue here. Okay. The filings demonstrate they cannot be trusted to honor such promises. Ethan Klein has spent countless hours constructing a tacit permission structure that enables his audience and allies to target perceived enemies of the show, regardless of the injunctions he later carries. Consequently, plaintiffs' assurances are hollow. They know their directives have little practical effort. This is why we sought the court's permission to omit both the apology video and ensuring public relations as evidence of overwhelming risk to our privacy, security, and safety, and of those close to us in our administrative motion. There we go. Plaintiff's improper filing is merely one episode in a sustained campaign to silence criticism. Relying on demonstrably false allegations and lacking any concrete evidence of wrongdoing, plaintiff has leveraged their massive online platform to manufacture consent and to incite others, to harass, cyberstalk, and dox us for moderating a subreddit where former fans critiqued and aired grievances about public figures in a once-beloved show. At its core, the suit aims to assign the weight of contributory copyright infringement for sharing lawful links to criticism in a thinly veiled attempt to chill free expression, censor dissenting speech, and entertain a sycophantic, good word of the day, sycophantic. That actually, let me give it to him. Mod lawyer, that's a good word, sycophant. Very good word. I don't agree with the interpretation here, but good word. By threatening the lives and livelihoods of ordinary private individuals. We do not intend to file this brief, nor do we wish to continue a costly back and forth with a plaintiff, Ethan Klein, who has openly stated an intent to inflict financial harm on us. However, we felt compelled to respond because plaintiff attempted to introduce evidence that has never been disclosed to us previously prior to the public filing, and plaintiff appears to be misrepresenting, whether intentionally or through negligence, to the court. Accordingly, we respectfully request the court quash these predatory, overbroad subpoenas in their entirety and shift our attorney's fees to hold plaintiff accountable. Whoa, they're asking for fee shifting, bro. Oh, no, 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 no. Shift our attorney's fees to hold plaintiff accountable for financial damages already incurred and affirm its duty to protect civil liberties and the First Amendment rights of not only us, but all online critics. Signed, the Does. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me just, okay. That was the first document here. The next one, I'm going to summarize it point by point. We won't read it line by line, but let me just go through that one. That was very creative. These people are not heroes of the Federation of Free Speech. They are subject to discovery, and I'm sorry, they're subject to their identities being revealed in the lawsuit. It's the same as if you were a newspaper writer. It's the same as if you were writing in anything else. Just because you choose to have an online, alias doesn't give you some magical protection. And I think that trying to get that exemption and trying to create some sort of exemption for that is extraordinarily problematic, because then everybody will just do that. I mean, essentially it will insulate people, a large category of people, from legal responsibility, which I think is a problem, right? Sycophant is such a good word. Good sound flow. Exactly. Sycophant, right? For those who don't know, let's pull up let's actually do a little word of the day here in memory of my good friend Jeff, who always liked word of the days as well, right? So sycophant, here you go. Let's do a little word of the day as we pause between our sycophant. A person who obsequiously acts obsequiously, I like that one, towards somebody important in order to gain advantage. Because he is high ranking, he is surrounded by sycophants, essentially yes men, guys. It's yes men. So like the yes men, the yes man, which, by the way, I haven't seen the Fallout TV show. I hear they like made Mr. House or like into not that good. For those that played Fallout New Vegas, you know the yes man. You guys know the yes man. Yeah, Wormtongue and LOTR. Wormtongue and LOTR, yes, is a sycophant. He's actually an evil sycophant. He's actually possessed, right? So it's even worse. That's even worse. A chat GPT was used for that document. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. RIP to Jeff too. All right. Yeah, the show is definitely not lore accurate. Okay. Well, there is another filing. This is their other document they filed. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to go through the highlights of this and kind of give you guys the summary here. So the first argument they make in this other document here is that their administrative motions are proper. So what they're trying to say is, remember, court cases are won and lost by procedure. So when you have proper procedure, you can often win. You go back to certain cases where people forgot to file or forgot to respond or forgot to submit evidence, and then all of a sudden they lose, right? They lose. And that's what they're trying to argue here. What they're trying to argue here is that they, the mods, have done everything correctly and Ethan has not. Now, this is one where I cannot actually make a ruling here. I can't make a judgment because I don't know the temperament of this judge as it comes to procedure. Some judges are very sticklers for procedure. And there's 3 levels of procedure. There's the federal rules, there's the state rules, and there's the local rules. Like there can be, for example, a rule that you have to use a certain font, a certain size paper, and a certain spacing for all your filings. And some judges get crazy with it and they want you to do certain things, right? There can be a lot of other local rules. Sometimes the judges really want to follow those rules. Sometimes they're willing to say, okay, I'm willing to bend this one, or I'm willing to say, okay, there's an exception or whatever. We're going to allow this because we want more evidence. Generally, the trend tends to be for the truth to come out at trial. So if there's something that is obscuring or stopping or hiding. They're trying to throw a procedural rule out there to hide the truth. Generally, the trend is for the truth to come out. And eventually, the truth is going to come out in a deposition. It's going to come out in other subpoenas, etc. Right? So to me, if the judge is smart and looks at this and is like, well, this information is admissible, it meets the criteria for admissibility, then I'm going to let it in because it's going to come out at a certain point. And you're just being pedantic, right? You're nitpicking. You're trying to this little thing isn't right. Okay, if it's a small little thing, maybe we make an exception. Maybe we move on, right? Next, their evidence is relevant. So they're trying to say that Ethan Klein's evidence is not relevant. Their evidence is relevant. That Ethan Klein should not have been given a chance to reply. That's not really. Usually, you're giving as much chance to respond as you generally want. You call that a surreply. So there's a reply, and there's like a surreply, like you're applying above and beyond that. I don't know the local rules here, and unless the judge really does not like that, presumptively it would seem okay. But we'll see how the judge feels about this procedure, right? Maybe the judge doesn't want a bunch of filings. Maybe the judge wants to streamline it a little bit. It's possible. Once again, as much as I have overall weighted this case in favor of Ethan Klein, I'm not going to say Ethan Klein is going to win every procedural victory. He may lose a couple. You can lose a couple little procedural battles and still win the war, still win the lawsuit. So the judge could look at this and say, yeah, we don't want to get too much with the filings. We're dragging it out. It's possible, right? It's possible. Kyle Lombard said, love you, man. Hey, my pleasure. Thank you for being unbiased. Asmund Goldsteinberg will smile and move on. That said, IDC, I don't care about these morons. Yeah. I honestly, this is an interesting case because they're all kind of being, there's a lot of idiots involved in this one. There's a ton of idiots involved in this one. But I think this is very important. It's important for copyright, and also it's important in terms of the mods here trying to hide their online identity, because this is not going to stop here. Guys, if they're allowed to hide their identity and not come out, there's going to be other cases in which they perhaps contribute to criminal behavior, contribute in other ways, right? Contribute to incitement of violence, whatever else, and they try to hide their identities. We can't have that, right? We need to have their information once again, through a legal process, right? Okay, let's continue. The court should strike TI's opposition and evidence in its entirety. So saying all their evidence is no good, it wasn't authorized, it's Ethan trying to get in the last word, it's not relevant, their evidence isn't relevant. Now, once again, I presume in the favor of evidence coming out, but this is a good argument about D'Artois. So saying D'Artois was never an H3 snark mod. Okay, so maybe that's a good point. Do we have all of the evidence to prove he never communicated with anybody on the mod team? Have we gotten all that information? We need all that information, right? Oh, you guys want the American cowboy hat from Mudang? Okay, let me switch. We'll switch Mudang's hat. We switch documents, we'll switch hats. Okay. Up. Okay, Mudang is now an American cowboy. In case you guys don't know, it's very cute. Look, I'll move Mudang to the front so you guys can see Mudang for a second. We gotta take a short Mudang break. She's now an American cowboy. She was wearing the Thailand hat before. There you go. It's cute. Okay, back in the back. Up. Stay. Sit, Mudang. Okay, Mudang's a little feisty today. She's got to take her for a walk or something. She's getting uppity. All right. Let's continue here. So this is a good point, and I'm gonna be very fair with them. There's a good point. She's drinking. Yeah, she's drinking water. Yeah, we're on water today. A little bit too much of those tiger beers the other day. So if that particular user wasn't related, maybe that's not the silver bullet. So, and that's one thing I'll be honest on. And let me be honest here with you guys. Even on X, I was like, oh man, this is a silver bullet. But if this person, D'Artois, really wasn't communicating with anybody else, was just like sending messages that nobody read or nobody interacted with, well, then, yeah, obviously that may not be the silver bullet. And maybe you have to kind of walk back that expectation. However, if these were, public posts, if they were things that were sent to the mods and the mods were echoing these sentiments in their public posts, that could be enough to say it's relevant, right? So we have to see the actual link between these pieces of evidence. And literally, this is kind of funny. Where's the statement? D'Artois actually says, oh, here we go. There's no indication Denims saw these messages. D'Artois says, see, Denims, I'm thriving even if you ignored me, right? Even if you ignored me. So that's a good one right there. Okay. Let's see here. Further, telling TI tellingly does not include copies of the actual discovery requests it served and Denham's written responses and objections to them. Okay, well, telling does not include copies of the actual discovery. I don't think that's necessarily this is like being really procedurally pedantic, and I don't think it changes much. Okay, this is a good point though. Okay. TI cannot simply keep identifying anonymous users and baselessly accusing them of being mods. So that is true. So fair point here is that not everybody in the thread is going to be a mod. And so the mods are not liable for everything everybody posts in the thread, right? So that's actually really important to know. And that's important for kind of any situation. That not everybody who's commenting, not everybody who's posting is going to necessarily be linked. So you've got to actually prove more than that. You got to improve more contributing towards that copyright infringement, right? Towards that redirection of traffic. This is something that doesn't need to be clarified. So they make a point that TI conflates any critics, including leftovers H3 with H3 snark. So obviously those are distinctions with a difference, and he does need to make sure. But here's the thing: he could bring in all of the mods from leftovers, from H3. All of them can be brought in, but they do have to make a distinction there, right? Because everybody needs to have individual liability, and there may be some people that are more liable than others. That's true. Ethan Klein's assertions are not credible. So saying that he is he's submitting bad evidence, or essentially they're going back into his trap. And I've said once again, it's not wrong to create a trap, right? To create a situation in which legally, in which people are going to infringe and they go and do it. It's still a crime. So, for example, speed traps, right? We all know about speed traps, right? The cops wait around a corner where they know that people are going to be speeding and they pull you over. Now, there are some situations, I know what people are going to say. Well, Andrew, in some states, speed traps are illegal. Okay, I get it. But if they're not a crazy situation, if it's not something that like is a wild entrapment, right? Like it's going from, the speed limit's 85 and it goes to like 30, okay. There's some of those in Florida that were really bad. But you know what I'm trying to say. There are scenarios in which law enforcement can post up at places where they think that things are going to go down and they can stop you. So, for example, I'll give you a great example. That's like, for example, law enforcement checking for drinking outside of clubs or bars, right? So where does law enforcement, when they're trying to catch people for DUIs, where do they set up their DUI checkpoints? Where there are people drinking. They're not going to set them up in the middle of the cow patch where there's nobody out there. They're going to set them up where they're going to catch somebody, right? That's just what's going on here. I already read one of them. This one is a little bit more procedural. That's why I'm kind of skimming it here, but it's, interesting. We'll say it that way. TI has not shown why it couldn't have introduced its evidence in its opposition. TI's evidence of comments in Denham's Discord server should have been introduced in opposition, meaning they should have procedurally done it earlier. TI has shown no reason for the delay in introducing this evidence, so they're trying to say they should remove it because it was kind of not submitted properly. Okay. They're also saying that the evidence is hearsay, right? Lacking foundation, lacking personal knowledge, lacking proper authentication, irrelevant, and doesn't meet the best evidence rule. Speculation, undue prejudice, confusion of the issues, and misleading, offering legal conclusions and not support. So they literally at the end here they just take all the spaghetti of objections and they throw it at the wall and say, by the way, we're going to object to it on every basis we can object to it because we don't like this evidence. Okay. I guess you have to do that because you're lawyers and you have to make that argument. And that's signed. This is signed by Leah Rosa Vulik, who is moving for the Reddit attorneys, who moved for the Reddit mods. Okay. So what's my judgment on this? I have a PP here. Okay. We have a PP here. So what's my judgment on this? Let me go over here. After we read these two documents. So my judgment here is that the outcome of these two motions is going to really depend on the temperament of the judge and the interpretation of the procedural rules. So civil lawsuits, like I'm saying, they're won or lost. If the judge is really conservative, and I don't necessarily mean that right wing, there's some procedurally conservative left wing judges. I knew one in Orlando. It was very left wing, but she was very strict about procedure, just sort of like the Karen and HR of procedure. So the judge could let it in. And generally the trend is to allow in evidence, but it does need to meet the criteria for admissibility. And it's possible the judge says, hey, we don't want to get in a bunch of back and forth. So we're going to limit the responses. We're going to, evidence can only come in at these certain points. But I think eventually this evidence is going to come in at some point, either through subpoena or through deposition. I don't think they're going to be able to hold off on this evidence forever. I don't think this is a situation in which they're not going to get this information out there. Now, if D'Artois is not related at all, etc., okay, the evidence comes in, but it may not be usable beyond, a certain limited scope, right? It may not be usable at trial because Denham says she's going to trial, guys. So we're going to get a trial here with Denham's. If she's serious, if Denham's is serious, we're getting a trial. So not everything that comes out pre-trial is going to be used during trial. So it's possible that if D'Artois is really bad evidence or whatever else, it may not be used at trial. That's fine. The lawyers may decide not to use it at trial. But it still needs to come out. We need all the information, right? We need all the information. Yes, I'm showing you guys my PP. This is my PP. It was kind of short today, but gets the job done. So we'll see. This is one where actually I'm being very fair to the mods. They could win here, a procedural victory. But we don't know. We don't know yet. It's not for sure whether or not the judge is going to allow it. I think the judge should allow it in. If I was the judge, if Legal Mindset's the judge, I'm allowing this in. Because I want to get all the information out there, and I'm looking through all the evidence, and I'm balancing it, and then we'll decide what we use in court. By the way, thank you to everybody who joined on Twitch as well. Jess Bro said, love my PPs. Thank you very much for that. All the people over there on Twitch, let's get monetized over there. We will be going to Kick. So we're going to do a Kick show on Jean Parmenov and on the island, right? The island. So that's going to be exclusive to Kick after this. So I know we have 1,356 people. Go over here, kick.com/legal mindset. Join over there. We're going to have a little discussion. We can talk about stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoyed it today. Here's another one here. New hat tip. Thank you so much. Let's see. Did we do all right with the okay. We could buy her like a cheap hat. We'll get it because the hat fund was not fully meant today for Moodang. So we'll get her an inexpensive hat. Not too crazy. Okay. But that said, love you guys. Take care. Stay based. And I will catch you on the next one.
You are coping the ceiling. You just can't believe what you're seeing. It's your coping in the ceiling, the truth it is all day. And now you are more than